Little girl brings soup to a sick elderly neighbor, but what she found inside the house. The soup trembled in Lily's small hands, not from its heat, but from her trembling fingers. She had knocked twice already, yet no answer came. The wooden door loomed before her like a mouth half open, waiting to speak or swallow. "Mrs. Adeline," she called, her voice unsure but laced with warmth. "Mama made some soup. She said you might be hungry." The wind howled behind her, blowing dry leaves across the creaky porch. The neighborhood kids never came this close to the old Simmons house. They said it was haunted, cursed even. But Lily wasn't like them. She had seen Mrs. Adeline once through the fence, thin, bent, with eyes that looked like they had cried every year since forever. A soft groan came from inside. Lily's heart jumped. She stepped forward, pushing gently against the door. It gave way without resistance. A strange smell hit her immediately, stale air, something like mold and sadness mixed together. The house was dark, curtains drawn. Dust swam through slits of weak light. "Mrs. Adeline?" Lily's voice cracked. Then she saw her. At the far end of the room, slumped in a high-backed chair by the cold fireplace, was the old woman. Her head lolled slightly to one side, eyes half closed, a knitted blanket pulled around her feet. Lily walked in slowly, shoes making faint thuds against the warped floorboards. I brought soup," she said again, holding the bowl like an offering to a forgotten god. Mrs. Adeline didn't answer, but her fingers twitched. I'll set it here, okay?" Lily whispered, placing the bowl on the dusty table beside the chair. "It's chicken. Mama says chicken helps when you're sick." The old woman's lips parted slightly, but no sound came. Lily looked around. The room was filled with old things. Black and white photos hung crooked on the walls. A wooden clock had stopped ticking at 3:17. Cobwebs stretched across shelves filled with dusty books and untouched teacups. And on a narrow table under the window sat a row of tiny, broken dolls. Some were missing eyes. Others had torn dresses. All of them stared blankly forward. Lily shivered. "I can help clean a little," she offered, voice timid. "Just the table, maybe the window." Still no response. But just as Lily turned to grab a rag from her pocket, she heard a rasp. Why? It was so soft, like the creak of an old hinge. She wasn't sure it was real. "I'm sorry," she asked. Mrs. Adeline moved her eyes, slow as ice melting. "Why are you here?" she rasped. Lily swallowed. "Mama said you've been alone for days. No one saw you at the market." She was worried. Mrs. Adeline blinked. "They're not supposed to come in." Lily tilted her head. "Who's not?" The old woman's fingers gripped the armrest weakly, as though bracing for something. "Them." The word hung in the air like dust in sunlight. Then, as if remembering her own presence, Mrs. Adeline tried to sit up straighter. Her body shook with the effort. "You shouldn't be here," she said hoarsely. "It's not safe." Lily's small brow furrowed. "But I just wanted to help." The woman's eyes glistened. For a moment, they weren't full of fear. They were just old, tired, alone. "No one helps the forgotten," she whispered. "They just disappear." Silence fell. Lily stepped forward and gently placed a hand on the old woman's. Mrs. Adeline flinched but didn't pull away. "I'm not nobody," Lily said softly. "And neither are you." The fire was long dead, but something warm flickered between them. But the warmth didn't last. As Lily bent to collect an old newspaper from the floor, she noticed something odd beneath the rugged iron ring embedded in the wood. She paused. "What's this?" Mrs. Adeline's breath hitched. "Don't touch it," she croaked. But it was too late. The moment Lily tugged on the ring, the rug shifted, revealing a trapdoor. The smell grew stronger, something damp and rotting. Lily stared at it, frozen. "There's a basement." The old woman's lips trembled. "I didn't want to remember." Lily looked at her, confused. "What's down there?" Mrs. Adeline turned her head away. "What they left behind." A sudden coldness swept over the room. The light dimmed further. Outside, the wind grew fierce. Still kneeling, Lily placed her hand over the iron ring again. "Were you hurt?" The woman didn't answer. Lily stood, her small voice now serious. "Did someone do this to you?" A long pause. "They forgot me," the old woman said at last. "First my son, then the rest. And when they came back, it wasn't for love." Lily blinked. "Who came back?" "Family," Mrs. Adeline said bitterly. "Only after they found out I still had something left. A deed. A key. An old house no one wanted until it was worth something." Lily felt something knot in her stomach. They took me down there, Mrs. Adeline continued. Made me sign everything away. Locked me in the dark for days. I think they wanted me to die quietly. Lily gasped, hands to her mouth. That's awful. The woman nodded slowly. But I didn't die. I crawled up. I survived. And then I stopped speaking. Because no one believed me. Lily's eyes burned. I do. Mrs. Adeline turned to her, stunned. Why? Because I have a grandma, Lily said quietly. And if she ever cried like you do, I'd want someone to listen. For the first time, something shifted in Mrs. Adeline's face. Not just grief but something like hope, peeking through a crack in years of sorrow. Suddenly, a thud came from below. Both froze. Lily's breath caught. What was that? The sound came again, this time sharper, closer, like something or someone shifting beneath the floorboards. Lily instinctively stepped back, heart pounding in her chest like a drum. She stared at the trapdoor, the rusted iron ring still half lifted, like an open invitation to something unwelcome. Who's still here? She whispered, gripping the sleeve of her coat. Mrs. Adeline didn't respond immediately. Her eyes were distant, unfocused, like she was drifting back into a memory she'd buried deep. I don't know what they left down there, she said finally, voice brittle. But something stayed. Lily looked at her. You mean like ghosts? No, the old woman said. Worse. Remnants. A loud knock suddenly hit the front door, 3 harsh, angry pounds. Lily gasped and turned toward it. She could barely see the knob rattle under the pressure. Mrs. Adeline tried to rise from her chair, but her knees buckled, and she collapsed back with a wince. Don't open it, she hissed. Not unless you want to vanish like I did. Lily stayed rooted. The knocks came again. Then silence. A chilling voice, muffled but unmistakably male, called from outside. Adeline, I know you're in there. Open the damn door. Lily's eyes widened. Who is that? Mrs. Adeline's face tightened. My son. Lily spun around. But you said he came back for the house. The woman interrupted bitterly. Not for me. And when I said no, he locked me in that basement. He told everyone I was senile. They all believed him. The trapdoor gave another dull thump from underneath, as if it too wanted to speak. Lily whispered, He's the one who hurt you? Mrs. Adeline gave a slow nod, eyes heavy with shame. He wanted the inheritance. The deed. Everything. I was just in the way. From outside, the man's voice rang again, louder, angrier. I'll break the damn door down if I have to. Mrs. Adeline struggled to rise again, panic in her eyes. Go, Lily. Please. Leave through the back. He mustn't see you. But Lily didn't move. I won't leave you. A tear slid down Mrs. Adeline's cheek. Child, you're just a little girl. She's not right in the head. He'll twist anything. I'm not scared, Lily said, even as her knees trembled. I've seen people lie before. I know what that looks like. She walked quickly to the door and locked the latch, then turned to Mrs. Adeline. Do you still have the deed? Proof. The woman nodded faintly. In the drawer, under the photo of my husband. Lily ran to the small table near the wall. Her fingers pulled open the drawer. Inside was a stack of papers, brittle and yellowed. She dug deeper and found it. A folded legal document with seals and signatures. This proves it's yours, she said. But what good is paper when no one listens? Mrs. Adeline asked, bitter and defeated. They'll listen now, Lily said firmly. Because I'll tell them. I saw you. I heard the truth. And I'm not afraid to speak. A loud crack broke through the silence, the sound of wood splintering. The front door flew open. A tall man with greasy hair and wild eyes stormed inside, boots slamming against the floor. His face was twisted with rage. What the hell? He stopped short when he saw Lily. His expression changed from confusion to surprise, and finally, to something cruel. Well now, what have we here? Lily stood firm, the paper clutched in her hand like a shield. I know what you did, she said clearly. The man's smile faded. Excuse me. You locked your mother in the basement. You stole from her. And now you want the house. He took a step forward. You don't know what you're talking about, little girl. I do, Lily said, her voice rising. And I'm not leaving until someone else knows too. He lunged toward her but stopped when Mrs. Adeline shouted. Don't touch her. The voice was hoarse but loud, breaking through the years of silence like thunder. Her frail hand pointed, shaking but unwavering. You took everything from me, she said. But you won't take this child's voice. The man snarled. You're just a crazy old. He didn't finish, because at that moment, the trapdoor in the floor burst open. Both Lily and the man jumped back as the wooden panel flipped, and from the darkness below something emerged. At first, it was just a shadow, but then it moved, crawling slowly into the room. A man thin, dirty, eyes sunken, face gaunt. His beard was matted, his clothes torn. He looked like he hadn't seen daylight in months. The intruder's eyes widened in horror. No, that's not it, can't be. The crawling man spoke. His voice was cracked, but unmistakable. Your brother, he whispered. Mrs. Adeline gasped. Lily turned, stunned. You have another son? Tears streamed down the old woman's face. They said you were dead. I almost was, the man rasped. He put me down there too. Said I was a junkie. Said I didn't deserve anything. But I heard you crying through the floorboards, Ma. The standing man stepped back, face pale. This is insane. But Lily stepped between him and the others. It's not insane. It's justice. The police came within the hour thanks to Lily's mother, who had gotten worried and followed her to the house. By the time they arrived, Lily was sitting beside Mrs. Adeline, holding her hand tightly, as the wounded son was being checked by paramedics. The older brother was in handcuffs, screaming about lies and setups. But no one believed him anymore. Because there was a witness. A little girl with a bowl of soup and a heart big enough to hear what others refused to. The days that followed felt like waking up from a long, heavy sleep. The story of Mrs. Adeline, her neglect, the lies, the son who betrayed her, and the one who was thought to be lost spread quickly through the neighborhood. People who hadn't said her name in years now spoke it with shame, with guilt, with regret. But Lily became something else. Not a hero, no one dared call her that. She didn't like the word. She was just a girl who brought soup. And yet that simple act had unraveled a knot of secrets that had been choking an old woman for years. Mrs. Adeline was taken to the hospital for recovery. Malnourished, dehydrated, but alive, and strong in ways no one had noticed before. Lily visited her every day after school. Sometimes she brought cookies. Sometimes she brought drawings. Most of the time, she just sat there and listened. One afternoon, as Lily colored a sketch of the old house, Mrs. Adeline reached over and touched her hair gently. You remind me of someone, she said softly. Who? Lily asked. Myself, the old woman replied. Before the world taught me to be afraid. Lily didn't answer. She just smiled and kept coloring. Outside the hospital room, her mother waited patiently, her arms crossed but her eyes soft. She had scolded Lily at first, the day it all happened. But later, after the story unfolded, she knelt down and said something that Lily never forgot. You saw what we didn't, and you listened when no one else would. I'm proud of you. That meant more than any trophy or ribbon. Back at the old house, renovations had begun. The younger son Eliath had petitioned to regain his name on the deed, not for money, but to ensure the property stayed in Adeline's control. When she was well enough, she returned home not to be alone, but to be surrounded by people who now remembered she existed. Neighbors came by with casseroles. Some apologized. Some didn't say anything, but they brought flowers, blankets, books. Lily helped clean the dolls on the shelf. Together, they repaired them, gave them new names, gave them voices again. One day, as Lily dusted a forgotten corner of the attic, she found an old trunk. Inside were faded letters, dozens of them. Letters Adeline had written but never sent. To her sons, to her late husband, to friends who stopped visiting, to herself. Some were angry, others were gentle, but all of them carried a truth that had gone unspoken for too long. That she had been invisible. That aging felt like slowly fading away in a room full of people who stopped looking. Lily asked if she could keep one of the letters. Mrs. Adeline agreed. That night, Lily read the letter under her blanket, flashlight in hand. It said, If anyone remembers me someday, let it not be for the house I lost, or the silence I endured. Let them remember that I once laughed like a girl and loved with everything I had. Let them remember that I was more than forgotten, I was waiting. Lily cried. And in her next class project, she wrote a story not about haunted houses, but about what it means to be left behind while still being alive. Her teacher gave her an A. But more importantly, she asked, Can I read this to the class? And so Lily's voice became louder. The house on the corner, once labeled spooky, cursed, became something else entirely. Children began visiting after school, helping with yard work. One boy even painted a mural on the back wall, an old woman in a rocking chair, and a little girl handing her a bowl of soup beneath them. The words, "Kindness does not ask for permission. It just shows up." Lily laughed when she saw it. So did Mrs. Adeline. Spring came, and with it, new leaves, fresh paint, and a garden Lily helped plant. The trapdoor in the floor was sealed permanently, its story no longer hidden, but no longer feared either. One day, Mrs. Adeline sat outside in the garden, wrapped in a shawl, watching the sunset. Lily sat beside her, sipping warm tea. "Do you think people ever really come back?" Adeline asked, eyes on the horizon. "From where?" Lily asked. "From forgetting," she said. Lily thought for a moment. "I think maybe we don't come back the same, but maybe we come back better." Adeline chuckled. "You speak like someone far older than 8. "I've seen a lot," Lily said seriously. "I know," Adeline smiled. "You saw me." They sat in silence after that, listening to the wind. There was no more knocking, no more yelling, no more fear creeping up from the floorboards. Just two hearts, one old, one young, beating side by side, in rhythm with healing. Months passed. The summer heat gave way to the golden hush of autumn. Leaves drifted down like lazy feathers, and the once decaying house at the end of the block now stood proudly with new paint and open windows. It breathed again, lived again, and so did Mrs. Adeline. She no longer wore the same expressionless mask she once did when Lily first entered her world. Her eyes, though still shadowed by time, now glimmered with something close to joy. There were still hard days, memory lapses, aches that no tea could soothe, but she was no longer alone in them. One Sunday afternoon, Lily brought her a present, a box tied with a blue ribbon. "What's this?" Mrs. Adeline asked, touching the ribbon with curious fingers. "Open it," Lily beamed. Inside was a photo frame handmade. In it, a picture taken just days before, Adeline in the garden, surrounded by children, sunlight on her face, and Lily right beside her, both mid-laugh. Beneath the photo, in Lily's neat, childlike writing, was a quote. "You were never invisible to me." Adeline's lips quivered. No words came for a long time. She simply reached out and pulled Lily into a gentle hug. The photo shook slightly in her other hand, but she held it firmly as if anchoring herself to this new chapter, this new identity, not a ghost, not a burden, but someone loved again. One evening, as winter crept closer, Lily came to visit later than usual. Her mother waited in the car, headlights dimmed, letting them have their time. Lily sat at the kitchen table while Adeline poured 2 mugs of warm milk. "I'm going to write about you again," Lily announced. Adeline chuckled. "What now? The return of the forgotten neighbor?" Lily smiled. "No. This one's called The Day the World Opened the Door Back." The old woman paused, looking at her. "That's a very big title for such a little girl." "It's a very big story," Lily replied. They both laughed. Then, as the clock ticked gently in the background, Adeline asked, "Lily, do you ever wonder why it was you?" Lily blinked. "Why I came here that day?" Adeline nodded. Lily thought for a moment, then answered, "I think kindness looks for people who will carry it. And I was small enough to carry it without fear." Adeline's eyes welled up. "You carried me." They sat quietly after that, because some truths don't need more than a whisper. Winter brought more than snow that year. It brought closure. Adeline's younger son, Elliot, came often. He repaired furniture, helped organize legal matters, and most of all apologized. Slowly, he became a steady presence. He and Lily even planted tulip bulbs together, agreeing they'd bloom in spring like promises kept. The older son, however, faced trial. Though he denied everything, the documents Lily found, the basement evidence, and Elliot's testimony revealed a web of greed and manipulation. The community was stunned, but justice, slow and quiet, arrived all the same. Adeline chose not to attend the hearings. "I've already faced my ghosts," she told Lily. "The law can face him." On the first snow of the season, Lily stood by the fence, watching the sky drop soft white flakes. Adeline came outside, wrapped in a thick scarf and mittens Lily had knit herself. "Do you like snow?" Lily asked. Adeline smiled. "I used to. Then I grew afraid of what it hid. Now I think it's just another kind of blanket. Soft. Forgiving." Lily nodded. "Mama says snow covers everything, but never erases it." "Smart woman," Adeline said. They watched in silence. Then Lily turned. "Are you happy?" The old woman didn't answer at first. "I'm here," she said. "Fully here. I think that matters more." Lily leaned her head on Adeline's arm. I think so too. In the spring, the tulips bloomed. Red, yellow, violet colors Adeline hadn't seen in her garden for decades. Children came to visit again. Some called her Granny Addie. She let them. She had letters now, not hidden in trunks, but displayed on her fridge. Drawings, notes, photographs. Lily kept coming too. Sometimes they just sat. No words. Just the quiet gift of presence. And sometimes, Lily read to her. Stories they made together. Tales of brave girls and silent houses and old women who didn't disappear. Once, Lily brought a visitor her baby brother. Adeline held him, her hands gentler than ever, her smile trembling. He'll grow up in a world where no one gets forgotten, Lily whispered. I'll make sure of it. Adeline kissed the baby's forehead. And I'll make sure he knows who taught you that. When summer rolled around again, a small ceremony was held in the neighborhood park. Lily was given a Community Kindness Award, just a laminated piece of paper and a handshake from the mayor. But Adeline was the one who cried. After the ceremony, Lily ran to her and hugged her tight. I didn't win anything, Lily said bashfully. Adeline cupped her face. You won me. Years later, Lily would write her first real book. It would be titled The Woman in the Window. It would tell a fictional version of their story, written with all the magic and heartache it deserved. And on the dedication page, it read, For Adeline, you opened the door, and I walked into my purpose. There were things Susan never said out loud, not because they weren't true, but because they were too heavy to carry in words. She watched her daughter from the kitchen window, the same way she always had, softly, without fanfare. Today, Lily was helping Mrs. Adeline hang wind chimes outside the porch. Her small hands worked carefully, the same hands that had once trembled holding a bowl of soup. Susan remembered that day more vividly than she liked to admit. The knock on her bedroom door. The absence of Lily's small footsteps around the house. The cold realization when she saw the soup pot missing from the stove. She had panicked. Not because Lily had left the house alone, though that was part of it, but because deep down, she knew where her daughter had gone. She had seen Lily glance across the street many times. Had caught her pausing at the edge of the sidewalk, staring at the old house with the boarded window and the sagging porch. And each time, Susan had said nothing. She knew the stories. The ones the neighbors whispered. That the woman who lived there was crazy. That her sons had abandoned her. That she once screamed at children for stepping on her lawn. But Susan also knew something the others didn't. She knew what silence could hide. She had lived it. Years ago, before Lily was born, Susan had taken care of her own mother. It was a quiet kind of heartbreak watching someone disappear in pieces. Her mother had been full of fire once, a teacher, a singer, a woman who danced barefoot in the rain. But time stole her slowly. First her memory, then her voice, and finally her will. What hurt most wasn't the decline, it was the world's indifference to it. Neighbors stopped visiting. Friends stopped calling. Even family made excuses. She doesn't remember me anyway, they'd say. As if that made the loneliness less real. Susan had been there for all of it. The pills. The doctor appointments. The nights her mother forgot who she was and screamed until morning. But she also remembered the good things. How her mother would smile when Susan brushed her hair. How she'd hum old songs during her rare moments of clarity. How, even at her most confused, she always softened when she saw her daughter's face. So when Lily was born, Susan promised herself she would teach her what her own mother had taught her, not through lectures, but through living. Kindness without permission. Compassion without reward. Love without loudness. The day Lily came home from the hospital after visiting Mrs. Adeline for the first time, she didn't say much. Just handed Susan the now empty bowl and went to her room. Susan stood in the kitchen, holding that bowl, heart pounding. Later that night, Lily crawled into bed beside her. She's so small, she whispered. Susan turned to her. Who? Mrs. Adeline. Not her body. Her voice. Susan didn't answer. Lily continued. I think people made her small. Susan brushed the girl's hair gently. Sometimes the world makes people feel invisible. Is that like being small? In a way, Susan said. They lay in silence for a while. Then Lily whispered, I want to make her big again. And Susan, eyes stinging in the dark, kissed the top of her daughter's head. You already have. In the months that followed, Susan watched as Lily bloomed beside Mrs. Adeline. It wasn't just about kindness. It was about connection, genuine, unfiltered, human. Susan often wondered if Lily even realized what she had done. Not just rescued a woman, but reminded a community how to see. One chilly evening, Susan stood in the grocery store aisle, holding a can of peaches. An older woman beside her reached for the same one, and their hands brushed. They both smiled politely, and the woman said, "Aren't you Lily's mother?" Susan nodded. The woman's eyes softened. "That girl saved something in all of us, you know." I hadn't talked to Adeline in 20 years. Not since the funeral of her husband. To just assumed she didn't want to be bothered. Susan didn't respond, just offered a kind smile. But in her heart, she thought, "You assumed wrong. We all did." That night, Susan placed the peaches on the kitchen shelf and sat at the table alone, her tea growing cold as she stared into the quiet. She thought about the power of small things. A bowl of soup, a gentle word, a child's unwavering sense of right, and the mother who taught her to believe in those things without ever naming them. Months later, during the local community gathering, a woman from the council approached Susan with a plaque. "We wanted to recognize your daughter, but also you, for raising someone who didn't just listen, but heard, who didn't just look, but saw." Susan held the plaque, stunned. Her name was engraved at the bottom. She looked across the room and saw Lily helping Mrs. Adeline into a chair, fluffing the cushion beneath her with care. And in that moment, Susan realized something. She had never taught Lily to be kind. Lily had become kind because she had grown up watching her mother choose compassion over and over, even when the world chose judgment, even when no one said thank you, even when it cost something. Later that night, Susan sat on the porch alone. The wind was crisp, the stars quiet. Mrs. Adeline came out with a blanket and draped it over her shoulders. They hadn't spoken much directly before, but tonight, Adeline sat beside her. "I used to think the worst thing was being forgotten," she said. Susan looked at her. "But now I think the worst thing," Adeline continued, "is to forget yourself before others ever get the chance." Susan nodded slowly. "And Lily, she reminded you?" she asked. Adeline smiled. "No, you did. She just delivered it." Susan's eyes welled up. They sat together, two women from different generations, carrying invisible burdens only women seem to carry until someone brave enough walks through a door with nothing more than soup and honesty. Lily joined them moments later, holding 3 mugs of cocoa. "I brought marshmallows this time," she said proudly. Adeline laughed, and Susan pulled her daughter in close, warming her hand with her own. No one said anything for a while, because this was what healing looked like. 3 generations, one night sky, and no one feeling small anymore.